Hello and welcome, folks, to a very special, kind of weird edition to RSF Radio. I'm your host, Joe Monday, but I have a very special live guest with me tonight. You might know him from his YouTube channel, his interview series. You might know him from, if you're a real OG, you'll know him from the statue reviews. You might know him from his new Twitch affiliate status. It's Born Free. How you doing, man?
I'm good. You're pretty good at this.
Were you not ready for that kind of that level of intro?
I feel like Americans turn it on. I did a podcast earlier with. I actually did a podcast before this with Velociraptor for Event Hubs, right? Mm-hmm. And he did the same thing. He just fucking turned it on, and I was like, "You Americans with your let's go live and fucking now I'm a new person. Check me out."
Yeah, it was good. A moment ago, me leaning back in my chair, drinking, and then...
And now you're all, like, professional and shit.
On it, buttoned up, ready to go.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I'm never like that. Like, all my stuff is rough around the edges. Even now, like, people staring at my Twitch are just like, what is this garbage kind of layout?
You gotta flip the switch in the head. You go over the top. I don't know, something happens and you go over the top, and then you win at arm wrestling and podcasting. It's weird.
Dude, if I could only win at arm wrestling, that would be awesome.
One of the best Sylvester Stallone movies, Over the Top. He's a truck driver / arm wrestler. It's great to win the affection of his son back. Anyway, that's not what this podcast is about. This is mostly
Although we could talk about that. Seriously, like Rocky 4, Rambo 1. I'm trying to think Sylvester Stallone movies.
Rocky 4 is good. Demolition Man.
Demolition Man I've never seen. I have no idea.
Oh, you don't know how to use the 3 shells? Oh, goodness.
Oh, Cobra? Oh, Dr. Swagenheimer. Remember
Of course. He cuts pizza with a scissor. He cuts them with a scissor.
That I don't remember.
It's like right in the beginning, and he takes the pizza.
Tango and Cash?
And he takes it he cuts the triangle off, and he just eats the triangle with scissors. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Also, I should say, for people listening to the audio version of this, we are live on Mark's stream, on Born Free stream. We are live, so if we respond to a chat, we will try and say what the question is in the chat first before addressing whatever the fuck is going on over there. So there's that. However, whenever I have a guest on the show, what I love to do, promote them up front, instead of giving that stuff at the end when people have turned off the podcast. Where can people find you, and what are you doing right now? What do you got going on? So
I'm trying to get my stream into a good spot. It's grown significantly. It's done really well. But you would expect that, I guess, because I have a good following on YouTube. But I am loving streaming. Loving it. I just want to make sure I have everything in place to be able to enjoy it as fully as I can. And then the other thing I'm doing is getting prepared for SCR, because I'm going to bring back a lot of great content for that. I just spent hundreds of dollars on new production equipment, which I can't afford. So I'm going to be asking these lovely people to try and pay for it. Because I still have that shitty mic, which I dropped the other day and is kind of broken. And I spoke to Gerald at Core Gaming. He gave me some advice for a couple of lavalier mics. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just get those. But
you mic for your stream? Huh.
Oh wait,
no, for you're talking about
for my
interviews.
When I go to SCR, I've bought 2 lavalier mics with recorders.
Right.
Forgotten what they're called. Like, forget the name. Right, they got some silly name. But Gerald told me to get them. They're supposed to be very good, and I just trust people, and I'm just like, okay, if he says get them, I'll get them, because Gerald is the guy who runs Core Gaming, right? Mm-hmm. So, he said this is what you should get. I don't know what I'm doing with production stuff, so people just tell me what to do, and I just buy it or get it or whatever.
Because you had lav mics in your last round of interviews, and it worked out really well. Those were someone else's. Those weren't yours.
Correct. So basically, normally I'm a one man show, right? So normally I turn up, I've literally got a tripod, a camera, and one mic, which I hold in my hand, which, everyone knows about. And then the problem with that, obviously, is I have to keep track of everything, right? So I have to keep track of, like, hey, are the audio levels okay? Is the mic in someone's face, like my face or his face? is the
how's the blocking?
what's going on with the camera. Like I got to
Yeah.
check the LCD screen, which everyone knows about how, because I always do a strange look to the camera. Is the memory, have we run out of memory? Like, all this shit is on my mind while I'm doing the interview, right?
Right.
Which sucks because it's like it's what you call double think. Told you I'd put it into my vernacular. So I'm double thinking, triple thinking, whatever, right? But last time when we went to Defend the North, Andy Sitia Brass, who runs that, I've done quite a few interviews of his, and he really likes that. He likes when I do interviews, so he always helps me. He's always like sending players to me, like really helps me out whenever I go to any of his events. As a TO, he likes having me there, like seeing me do the interviews, and it helps promote his event as well when the interviews come out. So sort of win-win for everybody, which is the situations that I like. When
there's usually a whole week coverage about. It's not about the event. It's not about the event, but
it's not about the event. Yeah. No, it's like live, not live, but we're at Defend the North, whatever, right? So it's Defend the North kind of branded, and sometimes like Andy will give me the trophy and I'll have the trophy. So it's like, he's pretty clever in that sense. So he's like, here, take the trophy. And so I'll sit there with the trophy and we'll record it that way and whatever. But this time around, he was like, can you do Defend the North? And I was like, look, I'm going to Evo. There's no way I'm going to get all this shit done. Like, I just can't. And he was like, well, look, I've got a cameraman. He's really into this sort of stuff. It's like, all right, fine. I'll just turn up. I'm all good to do that. And we sat down and the guy was like, where should we shoot? And I found this little fucking weird ass fireplace. It's not like a real fireplace, like a fake fireplace. You've seen it, right?
Yeah,
like a fake fireplace. And I was like, let's do it here. Call it Fireside Chats. And then he got the lavaliers going. And with the lavaliers, I was just free. I was just like we are now. I was free. I was like, this is fantastic. I can
just
ask
articulate
questions.
all you like. It's the whole new freeing option.
But I can also poke a little bit. So when I'm asking a question, I can ask a question instead of like I'm holding the mic to you, waiting for you to finish, and then I come back to me. With the lavaliers, I'm like, wait, hold up, and I can just poke a little bit, and then
you can interject without being rude of whipping the mic away.
You can also get better answers. So you sort of when I say provoke is a better way of saying it. So I can provoke a little bit. So I can jump in and provoke a little bit, and sometimes you'll get better answers. It's just a slightly different style, but also it frees me up to have a more, because I'm not thinking about the production side. It frees me up to have a more of a conversation as well.
Right.
A bit like you're doing now, right?
Right. I mean, we are free currently. Free to interject.
We are free. Stay free. Stay free, my friends.
True. So with that in mind, with what you have, where are you going next? And what interviews are you going to tease interviews at all? You typically don't do that.
I mean,
you typically don't want to say who you're going to interview just in case schedules don't work out, because I mean, when you're at a live event, schedules can be very difficult.
I can tell you, like, most of the time I walk in with a hit list of 10 people and I end up with 2 from the 10, and then the other 8 are people I just grabbed. And that's why
so we're getting at least 2 of the names that you're about to drop.
Tournaments are the worst place to do interviews and the best place, right? So they're the best because players are there and they're live, and we can have live. I can catch like as many as I can, and there's the live chemistry of being there with them, and you get their full attention. But they're also the worst because you're at a tournament to win a tournament. Like a lot of these guys, they just want to, practice. They want to hang out with their friends. They want to sleep because they're jet lagged. They want to be salty because they just lost and go off and just fuck the world. They want to practice. Like there's a million things they want to do before they want to sit down with me. And now they know that my interviews are like 40 minutes. So
it's a time commitment. Like, it's a huge time commitment.
Just getting these guys to sit down is the hardest part. That's the most stressful thing. The interview itself is, it is. I enjoy the interview.
Right.
But yeah, it's so I'm prepping for SCR. The big thing about SCR that I've been pushing a lot on Twitter, I've made like 1 million GIFs or GIFs, or however you want to say it, of the original footage of Daigo and Valle meeting right? And one of the things I realized,
World Championship.
Yeah, I mean, it was 20 years ago. It's the 20th anniversary, and they're holding the 30th anniversary edition Street Fighter Alpha 3 tournament at SCR. So I'm very much expecting them to do a Daigo VIA exhibition.
A rematch, right? If you will.
20 years rematch, right? Hopefully VIA gets to wear that wife beater all over again.
And he's got to have the shirt over the shoulder as well. That's very important to them.
The shirt over the shoulder, right? So you've seen the footage. So this is the amazing thing. I put the footage out, right, as a GIF. I just thought I was messing around one day and I thought, I'll make a GIF of this. I made the GIF and people were like, "Whoa, this is historical." But most of them were making comments like, "Wow," like they'd never seen it. And I was like, shit, this shit is available on YouTube. I don't understand why no one's seen it. So
think about the hundreds and thousands of people who have, like, the Street Fighter 5 is their first Street Fighter. They're getting into it. They don't realize that there's this whole history to the people who are, like, running tournaments right now or being big figureheads, is that they've been around forever. And, in fact, had made history specifically with that tournament. I mean, that tournament, for people who don't know, should we give a little background on, were you going to walk into that? Should I allow you to do the history on that?
No, you go for it, man. If you know it, go for it, because you had recently sent me...
Yeah, there was an interview with Daigo from 2015, looking back retrospective on that particular tournament. That actually, I didn't read the tournament, or read that interview at the time that it was released. What caught me was that when Daigo won nationals in Japan, what happened was Alex Valle won nationals in the US, Daigo won nationals in Japan, and after he won nationals, they asked him, like, were you surprised that you won? And he's kind of like, no, I was not surprised. I'm very good at this game. Like, very brazenly saying, yeah, no, I was kind of sad because there's no one better than me who gives me a challenge. That's a bummer. And it's like, damn, you're going to throw shade that way? All right. He's like, I know Japan is very strong, so I'm actually not worried about the world championship. And he went down 2-0 to Alex and then ran it back 3-0 in the set. And I don't know if the whole retrospective from Alex is out there. Is that tape out there? Do you know?
I don't know what Capcom have done or what Alex has done, but I can tell you that I interviewed him about it and there's loads of information. If you want to find it, you'll find it from Daigo's perspective and from Vaie's perspective. I do want to talk to them again at SCR, but I just don't know if it's going to happen because I feel like they got stuff planned already, which sucks. Because I've already reached out to, just so you know, like I may as well tell you, I've already reached out to like both of them, and it's looking tricky. Basically, I think they have something planned, and it sucks because I've got something that I think would be really fun to do, which isn't actually a regular interview. But, I'd be interested in just like real little details. Like, I mean, how old was he? Daigo, what, 16 or 17 or something? 17, I think. And
yeah, he won nationals the year. I think he was 16 because he won nationals the year before at 15, and then flew. That was the first international tournament, actually.
Well, it was the first. As far as I'm concerned, I think it was probably the first big esports. The first, like, we invented esports. I think we invented international esports because I don't know what else was going on before '98, where people
traveling
with a large tournament like that. I mean, that's the World Championship right there. But, okay. So, but when you see Daigo in the footage, he does not look particularly nervous. Like, I would actually love to know, like, a little bit more about what's going on through his head, if he can even remember.
Right.
Like, at that tournament. Like, when he went into that arcade. Was it intimidating? Because he doesn't look intimidated at all.
He goes
who
down
was that?
0-2.
What was the TV show? Who was the woman that he was working with? Like, did they all travel together on a freaking plane? Like, I mean, obviously they went on a plane, right? But like, was it the first time he flew? Like, it's just random little shit like that I would love to know.
Because it was all filmed for a TV show in Japan. So they have a hostess come by. They're talking about like the Golden Gate Bridge. They're doing all this stuff.
So what else did he do when he was here? That's what I want to know. Did he care about seeing the Golden Gate Bridge? Did he give a shit? Like, or did he just want to get into the arcade?
Right.
You know, like there's so much stuff I want to ask him, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to him or not. But there's never any guarantees with me. All you can guarantee with me is that I will try my hardest, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And that's usually why I don't tell people who I'm trying to get to.
Right, because you'll get like 10 interviews. If you think about that, if you think about the time commitment of 10 interviews, that's about 10 hours just in recording time. And over a weekend, 10 hours of like being awake is a fuckload of time.
It's actually too much.
That's just talking during the interview. This is not the whole like setup of the interview. This is not like getting translators available and ready. And you're also juggling the schedule of 10 other people to make all of this work out. Sometimes like 12 other people because you got to get to the...
it's too much. It's too much. But I have UYUs. This is, UYU invited me onto their stream team. And, they are supporting me, and hopefully I can leverage some of their help as well.
Right.
We'll see. But it's early days at the moment, but we'll see. And but it's a bit too much. I think that I also benefit from maybe doing a few less interviews, which are, and giving myself a break between them, and perhaps spending a little bit of time on because I don't even see people, right? Because I just find a place to interview, find players, interview them, and I don't hang out and see people. And
I didn't see you at Evo, I don't think.
Well, Evo was the one where we saw each other at bar fights. But
it was like
just
passing.
briefly at bar fights. But Evo is like notorious for never seeing anyone, to be honest.
It's impossible. There's too many people.
Now it's just wild. But I did benefit at Evo from like I did 5 interviews on the Thursday when everyone had flown in early, and then I just did my own thing, and I benefited a lot from walking around, talking to people, networking. I met some crazy people. I met Victor, who did the Dogface show, right, from like 10 years ago.
Oh shit!
And he came up to me. I guess when he did the Dogface show, I think he kind of like, I don't know the exact story, but it was like he kind of launched the careers of, I guess, Gutex and Mike Ross or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only show you can still find on YouTube. And then he ghosted the FGC, right? But he lives in Vegas. So he came up to me and he was like, dude, I really like what you do. And I was like, whoa, and we talked a little bit. And so he has been encouraging me to sort of maybe push forward and do more. So it was good. Like I got to meet someone like him and, exchange contact details. And I got to meet a lot of people, that support me and be able to thank them. And because that's important to me, look somebody in the eye, meet them actually face to face and say thank you is just awesome.
Right.
And so I think I have to be wary of that too. Like I'm not sure that I always have to bring back 10. I think
you try.
I think that's just part of me that feels like, let me make the most of this moment. But, I think when I did the Taquito interview, which was great because Taquito I trusted, and he said, I will see you on this day at this time. So I was like, all right, well then I trust that will happen. And so I will prepare very specific questions, right? And we did it on stream. We did 2 hours of it on stream. We actually went over and did director's commentary over it. And that was like one of my favorite interviews because I got the opportunity to actually focus in on a person that I knew was going to be available and knew was going to turn up. Whereas a lot of players, it's difficult to actually nail them down at tournaments. And that's because of the nature of tournaments, basically, you know?
Because you want to go into the interview knowing, or at least having a back catalog of everything that person has done and have at least an opinion on it, which is difficult.
It's super difficult.
Especially if you're looking across games now, because you didn't used to do cross Street Fighter stuff, but now you're...
Yeah, I've been doing Dragon Ball. I've been doing Dragon Ball and Tekken. So my approach is, some people don't like it, but, it is what it is. My approach tends to be to have a set of questions, right, which I can just dip into. And it's almost like I'm doing a survey sometimes because I use a lot of the same questions. But what's important is the answer because everybody's different. And I've sort of figured out over the years this sort of set of questions that are working for me and constantly evolving, and it's the best approach I have for going to a tournament. If I was going to a tournament just to interview one guy, right, which some people do in other esports, there's a lot of interviewers who will go and they will do a long interview with one person. That prep you can do, right? And you can make an excellent interview. But with me, it's a little difficult to nail down people. It's getting better for me personally because people know who I am. So when they didn't know who I am, it was just impossible. But now they sort of know who I am, and sometimes it's getting a little easier. Like I'll, hopefully be able to get interviews with certain people. But even then, it's still. I'm telling you, I go in. Like I said, I'll go in with like the 10 hit list, and I think sometimes I've only hit like 2 or 3, and then the other 7 are just people I grab. So I have to have that flexibility in the questions, but I don't necessarily have their full history. So the questions are gauged to bring that out of them themselves,
right?
But without trying to be too rude. So I'll give you an example. I will say, what's your proudest moment in fighting games? And that question is literally, what's the best thing you've done? What's your biggest win?
It is and it isn't.
It is and it isn't, right? It's fine. It will give you an interesting answer. But like, sometimes I'll grab people and I'll be like, you know what? I don't know what their biggest win was, but they're interesting to me. I just don't know what their biggest win was. Particularly now that, like we're going weekends where people are winning. Let's say, was it last weekend or the weekend before? There was like 4 tournaments, right?
Yeah.
And so it
always feels like, hey, by the way, interjection here. It feels like there's always tournament overload. Do you feel like every weekend is like almost every weekend, or at least every other weekend? It's like, fuck, there's a lot going on.
I remember the evolution. So I remember there not being enough tournaments, and I remember thinking, I want more. And then more came, and then I remember there being one weekend where I was like, yo, I'm going to watch Street Fighter from Friday night all the way through to Sunday night, right? I'm going to watch and it was all different time zones, like I'm just going to stay up and I'm going to be watching all of it, and it's just going to be amazing. And that is amazing for about 5 minutes until you realize that it's just really tiring. And then now it's like, I'll go on Twitter because if there's 4 tournaments in a weekend, I just don't even know what to watch unless there's one major one. So I'm just like, because like the more tournaments you have, the less important those individual tournaments become to a spectator, I would say. Not to the players. They're really important to the players. But at the same time, to a spectator, you're like, if it's like a premiere, everyone's there, right? So that's really that's a big deal.
Because there aren't premieres scheduled for the same day ever, I don't think, in the CPT.
No, I don't think so, because that's just CPT, right?
Right.
But that's Capcom, and I don't think they have 2 premieres at the same time anymore. But they do sometimes have. I think they sometimes have premieres and ranking events in the same weekends, stuff like that. So you do kind of, as a player, you probably have to make a decision what's best for you in terms of points, or where you think you can get your most points. But some weekends I'll put Twitter on. Sounds so weird when I say shit like that.
Put on the Twitter.
I'll put it on Twitter. I'll turn Twitter on.
The old Twitter machine.
Yeah, I'll turn over to Twitter, and they'll be like, Knuckle D will be like, I just won this. And you'll be like, okay. And then Oil King will be like, I just won this. And you'll be like, oh, okay, so there's 2 tournaments this weekend? And then somebody else will be like, I just won this. And you're like, oh, there was 3 tournaments. No, there was 4. There was 4 tournaments this weekend.
There were 4 tournaments this weekend.
Yeah.
Final Fighters China, First Attack, Summer Jam, Ultimate Fighter Arena.
And those all were seemed like pretty big deals when they weren't clashing.
Those are 4 big tournaments.
Yeah. That's not a local.
Taking place in very different parts of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest to was maybe First Attack and Summer Jam, Philadelphia to Puerto Rico.
So to circle back, that's where the historical thing. So it used to be easier for me. I would know people's history because there were fewer tournaments. So I would watch tournaments and be like, all right, well, when I go and see somebody, I'm like, yeah, you got second at this or whatever. But now I'm just like clueless. Like, because their biggest moment could be, I don't know, I won Red Bull Conquest, right? I won CPT Online. or whatever, right? And I've just missed
this
it.
good match at Celtic Throwdown or something.
Yeah, and it's hard to remember all the stuff, you know? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Sarko won, what was it, in Taiwan? Where he won, like, he didn't lose a single match. Was it Taiwan?
Yeah, it was Esports Festival Hong Kong, wasn't it?
Right. Sorry, Esports Festival Hong Kong. That wasn't that long ago, but that was an incredible achievement.
Fuck, that was last weekend. Not this past weekend, but the weekend prior. That was like...
That's huge, right? He didn't lose a single match. Plus, that was stacked, that tournament. But, like, so many tournaments are happening, you're just like, it's gone. It's gone. It's in the ether now. It's disappeared. Like, so it is a little hard to keep track of players.
Specifically because all of them are traveling to all of the ranking events now. Because ranking tournaments are kind of important if you want to be caught up in top 32 of CPT in terms of points.
That's true.
Every single point matters, and when you want to travel and maybe get that 150 for winning, it might be worth it.
Yeah,
especially when there's like 3 going on the same weekend. There were 3 ranking events and 1 premier event.
And it's funny because we're just talking about Street Fighter. You've got players who play multiple games as well. Right. And then you got like Dragon Ball.
Yeah, this is not just for the CPT too. You got all of these events that we're talking about have... Yeah. They do not just play Street Fighter.
You got Tekken, you got Dragon Ball, you have players who are sort of trying to play all of them. Like Punk at one point was trying to play all of them until this weekend. I think he was advised by Chris G to like just play one game, which was Street Fighter, which turned out to be good advice.
Right.
And then you've got like
over the past.
Who's about to break top 8 for Street Fighter is Gionding, the Tekken player. That dude is like really good at Street Fighter.
He's really good at fighting games.
Yeah, his goal is to hit top 8 in Tekken and Street Fighter in the same tournament. How fucking dope is that? He's kind of
a Kazunoko.
He reminds me of Punk, but like the Korean version. I mean, obviously he's a bit bigger than all of us.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But
those guns, man.
But when you talk to him about training and all that stuff, he's a bit of a natural. He's a bit like, I've got an interview with him from Evo, and he's a bit of a natural. He's a bit like Punk. Like when you talk to Punk about training, Punk just kind of throws his arms in the air and is like, "What training? Just fucking play the match." And then I learn a bunch of shit. And those aren't his words, but that's like pretty much what comes across.
Who can also play a bunch of other games.
Well, Chris G, interestingly, what I find interesting about Chris G is most players who improve realize that they are making mistakes and have to correct them, right? But Chris G is interesting because he gets super salty and gets better. and so what's going on? So he must get super salty, but he must reflect, it's
the outward expression isn't a reflection of what might be going on internally.
Right. So he gets salty and gets annoyed about the tournament and this and that and the other and so there's you hear it as if like, oh, there's this personality of blaming everything else. But clearly he must at some point internally go, actually, I need to change X, Y, and Z.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
We have Dr. Swagenheimer in the chat saying Chris G is the Incredible Hulk of the FGC, and that might be true.
That might be true.
Yeah. His secret is that he's always salty.
The secret is there's always salty, yeah.
No, that's pretty
good.
Speaking of which, I guess I could...
Keeping track of... Sorry, I just wanted to round that up by saying, keeping track of players' histories is difficult. And also lining them up is difficult, so prepping for them is difficult. So my approach is a little bit more scattergun approach, but I do try to dig in and get what I can for people in terms of let's get to know this player, where they come from, what they're all about, etc., etc., etc.
Without asking the obvious dumb questions.
Huh?
Without asking the obvious dumb questions. Right.
Oh, I ask a lot of dumb questions too, but it's all in the mix. It's all in the mix, and I'm learning every time. And just it is what it is. I just persevere, and some people like it, and some people don't. But that's life, I suppose.
I did want to kind of spin off on that. Not really spin off. This is kind of same topic. I don't know why I tried to talk into a transition when there's really no transition. This is the same topic.
I'm terrible at transitions.
No, that's okay. I'm just feigning transition. This is false Roman cancel into the same topic. Anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of along that same path. Who's fun to talk to? What's been the most fun interview series that you've done? This is a very interview question from my half. Let me bounce it back to you.
I mean,
what's your most memorable? Most memorable
interviews? Bonchan absolutely is the most memorable interview without a doubt. I mean, Taquido, basically, that was a fun day, right? So I was at NCR. I was sponsored by you guys. That was the one you sent me to. That was the one you guys sent me to. Our Street Fighter, right? So I was like a bit puffed up.
Yeah,
about
specifically,
that,
like to say when Born Free says you, he means all of our Street Fighter. That was a community funded event of fundraising through. We were using GoFundMe back then, and through the Teespring.
Yeah,
you sell those shirts now, correct? Or
I do sell them, but no one buys them.
You got to pitch them. You got to pitch the merch. You got to have it like hanging up in the background.
I don't know. It's weird. I don't want to talk about t-shirts right now.
Okay.
Let's. I don't want to talk about t-shirts.
Fair. Move on to the actual question though of the most memorable interview.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the most memorable is definitely Bonchan because of what happened afterwards and what happened during. I mean, so I wanted to interview Bonchan, right?
Right.
And that was going to be like the interview that I brought back for our Street Fighter and the world. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to interview Bonchan because no one's done that really. And it's going to be great. And Bonchan's awesome and all this stuff, right? So I was trying to figure out how to get to him at the time. Now I have direct connection with his manager, Anna, at Red Bull, who's wonderful. But at the time I found out that he had a friend who ended up doing the interpreting, right? And his friend lived in NorCal and was doing college, but used to live in Japan. I think they even used to be roommates or something. And so I got in contact with him. He spoke perfect English. He started texting with Bonchan. And I told him, listen, tell Bonchan that Taquido will vouch for me, because Taquido did start vouching for me and like just doing brilliant things for me, right? So then apparently they got onto, this is all details, but I kind of find it interesting. I found it interesting, so maybe you guys will find it interesting. I don't know. But then they all got into a text chat, right, with Taquido, Bonchan, and God, I've forgotten his name, but the guy from NorCal, right? And Taquido was like, "Don't worry, you'll love this guy. It'll be a great interview." So I was like, "Okay, cool. I think this is going to happen, right?" Anyway, I get to NCR. Taquido's not there yet. Not a lot's going on. I can't seem to get anybody to interview. This is what always happens, right? The first day is a nightmare because nobody does anything on the first day. And nobody wants to be interviewed on the first day. They got a lot of shit going on. They're trying to get used to everything or whatever. Everything kind of happens on Sunday usually, or maybe the day before the tournament. But I'm at NCR. I'm feeling a bit lost. I'm feeling a bit pressured because so many people have put money to send me out there. And I'm kind of like getting a bit stressed. Then Taquido comes wandering in. And he's like, "All right, let's do this." And I'm like, "All right." And he's like, so the first person he wants to grab is Fudo, right? So he's like, "Where's Fudo?" I'm like, I have no idea where Fudo. I've not seen Fudo. So he just goes, we're in, like, NCR is not a big place, right? So right. NCR is literally just players. And he's like, "Fudo! Fudo!" He just starts shouting it out loud, right? And everybody in the room is like, everyone's like, "Where the fuck is Fudo?" So eventually they find Fudo, right? And he just marches Fudo up to, because I'm doing the interviews in my room, right? Because I like to take people away from the event and just get them, you know.
It's better for audio that way too.
Yeah, but also distractions, like people wandering around and shit. Fuck that. Like I like to take them to a place where they'll be away from everybody else, right? Right. So I got there, so I can get better answers. So that's what it's all about, getting better answers.
Walking up and saying that they're a fan, or Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, he did do that in one of the interviews, didn't he?
Yeah.
And so we went upstairs, did the interview with Fudo. Everyone loves Fudo. They want to see him talking. It got a lot of views.
It's my
But
wife's
I'll be
favorite
honest
player,
with you.
by the way. Side note. Fudo,
Who's
my wife's favorite player.
It's also Disco Vigilante's favorite player. Right. That's another side note. But he wasn't actually there at the time for interpreting purposes. Right. But so we did Fudo, and I'll be honest with you, like, I didn't feel like anything interesting came out of that interview. I just felt like it was a bunch of stuff that people already knew, right? So I was like, oh, okay, well, it is what it is, I guess. The most interesting thing that came out of it was that he loves beer. He loves drinking beer, and he loves eating sushi, I think, or something like that, or ramen. Might have been ramen. I forget now. So we did that interview. And anyway, Takedo was laying on the floor on his backpack, fucking around with his phone. I don't know what he does on his phone, because he's definitely not on Twitter, right? But he was on his phone. Who knows what he was doing? But he gets up and he looks at me and he goes, I think he could tell that, like, the interview was so-so. You know, people sometimes people just like to see me standing next to somebody talking to them, and they like the interaction. But to me, I really am interested in, like,
you want to have a piece of meat at the end for people.
Yeah, I want some meat. So with Fudo, I didn't feel like there was a lot of meat in the interview. I felt like he's very media savvy. He didn't want to say too much, or just couldn't be bothered. The one interesting thing about the Fudo interview is I did ask him, how are you so consistent? Because he was, and all the players at that time were complaining about how inconsistent the game was. And Fudo at that time was always top 3. He was never really number 1, but he was always top 3. So I asked him how he's so consistent. He said, I don't know. And then apparently later on, I found out on his way home, he was asking people, or he was talking to people and saying, maybe I should think about this. Like, why am I so consistent? Because he had no clue, which made me laugh. But
not even he knows.
Not even he knew. But then Takedo looks at me, and I'll never forget this. He looks at me and he goes, Bonchan has something to say. So I was just like, what does that mean? Bonchan has something to say.
With Fudo interview, you broke the ice.
And so when Bonchan came up, there was a little bit of nervous energy going on. And when you ask someone a question and they just ignore the question and start talking, you know they've come to say something, right? So that's pretty much how I remember the interview sort of happening. Is just like I kind of asked a question, and then he just kind of went off and said the things that he wanted to say.
Right, you had a question, but more importantly, you had a microphone and camera pointed at him.
Exactly, right? And I guess, like, I don't know what goes on in Japan in terms of interviews, but I don't know if they ask the same questions. But I was asking specifically, quite often I will ask about the game. You know, like, tell me about the game. What could be improved? Whatever. Like, I felt that was important about Street Fighter 5, is trying to understand that stuff. And because it's been so sort of divisive, and he just went off on one. And apparently the back and forth between him and the guy translating, who's his friend, was the Japanese FGC apparently loved it. They loved that because the chemistry between them apparently was magnificent. I mean, you can see it, but I don't speak Japanese. And they were laughing and laughing and laughing, and you could tell Bonchan was like trying to be like make jokes but be dry, but then he was cracking up. And then when he said, like, his friend translated, the translation was essentially, I mean, it's a famous translation now, but it was an un-PC way of interpreting what Bonchan said. But at the same time, what Bonchan said was not nice. He was not saying nice things.
Right.
And he was not being, let's say, polite to Capcom Japan. And he definitely got their ear, right? They heard him. And, you know, nowadays he's a little bit more chill. And I think he feels he played his part in regards to, like, trying to get the attention of Capcom. And the players, the Japanese players, the American players were like, I'm glad he said what he said. And yeah, it was a wild interview, and it's probably my most viewed interview, I think. I think the only interview that would top it right now is if I interviewed Tanukana, because everyone's super thirsty. But that she's the one that gets like 1 million views. But yeah, it got, like, I think it's like 70,000 views or something like that. And I would say that is definitely the most memorable. And whenever I see Bonchan and Anna, who's his manager, it's just, to me, it's just, yeah, I feel like we have that bond of having been through that fire, that sort of explosion, that fire, that moment, you know,
where people were like, okay, we can be more honest about this now.
It was a big moment, you know, like Capcom Japan heard it, and then Capcom America sadly got an earful for it, even though it wasn't their fault. Then I got an earful for it, but I don't work for Capcom, so you know, I can sort of sympathize, but I just want truthful people to be truthful, you know, just be truthful, and that's all, you know. You don't have to be nasty or anything like that, but sometimes you have to find ways to be heard, perhaps. I don't know. But I think it's important to be truthful. I don't think things are black and white. I was having this conversation with Velociraptor earlier. We're sort of on his podcast, but just basically saying, recently I did a video where I said, look, the latest update seemed pretty good. Like with Sagat, I can never say Sagat properly. Sagat.
You can say it any way you like. I don't think anyone's judging you.
They are. The chat. The chat goes.
The chat goes. When I say, I don't think anyone's judging you, and the chat just explodes. And it's Sagat. It's like, that's text. That doesn't work that way.
Anyway, the way I normally say it rhymes with the word that, you know,
Saget.
Is
like
not
Bob Saget.
Yeah, it's not a good word. So people get, so whenever I say it, but
from Full
I
House.
thought the last update was really good, right? I thought G and Sagat, and like the animations and the graphics and the quirks and the even the freaking, just the attention to detail, man. The critical arts, like when G goes light it up, I just love that. I love it. And to watch those characters play, they're fun, right? And then to add that UX, that was what the video was really about, was the fact that Capcom bizarrely added like a really nice UX element. That was like, whoa, hold up, somebody is making things happen on Street Fighter 5 and is thinking, and there is care and attention and like quality control.
It's not just a random number generator back there being like,
well,
they want new colors, right? They want,
well, I mean,
yeah, Chun-Li costumes, yes.
Yeah, Chun-Li costumes, and Sakura, who, like, her animations, she can't even bend her legs, poor girl. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, that she is, like, the most popular character in Japan, and that's how she ended up. So, at some point, like, just before this last update, something changed internally. You know, some people are saying that the guy who ran Monster Hunter got moved on to take over the fighting division. I don't know. There was a shareholder meeting after Marvel died or failed, where they actually said we need better quality control in our fighting games.
Right.
So something changed, and what the point of me saying this is, I made a video where I said this is good because it's not black and white. When things deserve criticism, then do it. Like, you know, don't be a dick about it, but do it.
That's why we had the whole our Street Fighter community feedback thread where people voted on all that
that was
stuff.
A useful thread. That was I would reference that all the time when I was being critical. That was the thread that I felt was very important for feedback. But you know, obviously, what people got, I've done a lot of video got frustrated. It's because they got no feedback. They were shouting into a void, and then it was like, we need to hit them in the wallet. And that means that if you like Street Fighter 5, you are part of the problem because you're paying for it, you know. So it all got a bit messed up, right?
You're dragging us all down with it because you're.
It sucks.
Them.
You've been through it at our Street Fighter. You've been through it. And
oh, believe you me, this is not what you're saying out loud is not news to me. This is the life that I've been living for the past like fucking 3 years, man. I know,
and you're a hero for just sticking through it and doing what you're doing and doing your Geef's Gym and just saying, look, I'm going to celebrate the things that I like about this game, and I'm going to teach new people who want to come into fighting games how to play and whatever. So, you know, but it's not black and white. And so when something good happens, I'm going to say, this is good, right? Because you should reward good behavior. We should say as a community, hey, you did something really good. Can you please keep doing that? can you keep this level of quality in the fighting games that you make, the fighting games that are coming up?
Right.
Like, you know, it can't all just be like, so for instance, a lot of people say to me in that video I did where I said this stuff is good, this last update was good, they say too little too late. And I'm like, look, this isn't even about Street Fighter 5 for me. This is about sending a message back to Capcom which says, whatever you're planning in terms of fighting games, whether it be another Street Fighter, Capcom versus SNK 3, something completely different,
right,
please take your time and use this level of quality control and thinking, because a lot of some thought went into this UX implementation. And so I think it's important to now that Marvel has failed, because I think that was the big thing that had to happen. Right. And then Arxis have come in and gone, hey, we're going to take all the money and we're going to take all the esports, right? So it's like those
void
things
that you left here, check this shit out. Bop.
All the conditions have happened. Everything that could have happened has happened, right? So now it's up to Capcom to respond.
I heard next season of DBFZ, they're going to put Sentinel in it. That's what I heard.
Sentinel.
Magneto's going to be in season 4 of DBFZ.
You have no idea. I am waiting for C17. I'm waiting for Android 17. Oh, God. I love that character. But anyway.
I jest, but wouldn't it be bonkers if they put a character in Dragon Ball FighterZ that was a function of Magneto with 8-way dashing in air, unfly?
They do have a character like that.
Specifically fly, unfly. I feel like that's important.
God, chat. I'm looking at the chat. What the fuck is that character?
With a jump heavy that is that big ass slash. Like, that's what you want to see.
There's a character who has an 8-way fly. I've forgotten his name though. He's a god. I've forgotten. Thank you, Automatok. Thank you. Automatok is in the chat. Zamasu. I can never say it right. But he has an 8-way. He flies 8 ways. But I'm just waiting for Android 17. I haven't even seen the cooler. I know there was I did a cooler reaction, like crowd reaction video. I'm not very good at those, but I was like, fuck it, I'll try that because they get millions of views, whatever.
Right, so just make sure React is in all capitals.
Right, and I totally messed it up because at one point
thumbnail has a big red circle.
I don't even read the comments for those videos because they hate me because I was trying to find hype people, but a lot of the reactions, they were just confused or like they were like stuck to the screen. So I was like, where are the hype people? So then in one of them, I literally do like a 360 3 times in a row trying to find people in the crowd, and like people in the comments are like, I'm fucking dizzy now. What are you doing? And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to do crowd reaction videos. I just know they get a lot of views and people seem to like them. So let me give this a try. Whatever. But
you basically have to turn around and be like, yo, the content of this actually doesn't matter. You're all in agreement here.
Well, my favorite thing about the crowd reaction videos, my favorite comment, which I wish there was scrub quotes for YouTube, but my favorite comment,
YouTube comments.
But my favorite comment for crowd, so it literally says crowd reaction, first 2 words, capital letters, right? Crowd reaction video. Comments that I get, why did you take the camera off the screen? I didn't get to see the whole trailer. You fucking, what? I'm sorry, what? In a crowd, I'm trying to capture the reaction of the crowd. Never mind. Like, it's just.
Why are you watching, viewer? Why are you watching this?
My favorite comment. Like, you could go, like, if you want to watch the trailer, go watch the trailer. It's like.
Hey, be quiet. I can't hear the trailer.
Yeah, it's funny.
YouTube, it's a weird environment. I don't envy your foray into YouTube. Some of that shit scares me. I say that like knowing that I have a VOD of this going up on a YouTube channel.
I have a good, and the guys are in the chat right now, right? I have a good following. I really like the guys who follow me, right? And most of them tend to take care of idiots in the comments or in the chat or whatever, right? Like, I don't know, like, I think I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's the, the like, how can I say it?
It's like the white blood cells of YouTube. They'll just take care of that shit automatically.
Right, but it depends who they're following. Because if they're following somebody they don't like, because sometimes people just follow people they don't like just for the hell of it, because they like a hate follow. But like a lot of people who follow me have been following me for a while. They've watched a lot of my different content. They've seen the work I put in, and even if they are sometimes massive trolls to other people, for me they're not too bad. Like they're like, in general, I find the people that support my videos are pretty invested and they want me to make more, and I would, I appreciate that a lot, because it could be a hell of a lot worse on YouTube. It could be a nightmare. And a lot of YouTubers, when they get big, and I'm not big, but when they get big, like, they just flip out at some of the comments. I remember years ago, PewDiePie, I can never say his name, PewDiePie, the biggest YouTuber in the world, he turned the comments off. He disabled them for a long period of time. Because he was just like, they were just, I guess, getting to him, and you
can see that.
Like, and now he has them back on again or whatever, and now he feels better about the community he has. But he went through a phase where I guess he was growing up and changing, and people were just getting angry, and they kept saying things like, well, where's the 2014 PewDiePie or whatever, right? Which is super annoying for somebody who's growing up. But I like my following. I think they're good. So YouTube is fine. Like, I like most people I like on YouTube. The only ones that piss me off are the backseat drivers who are like, oh, I could do this better than you. And it's like, fine, just fucking go do it, please. That's in
all walks of life, man.
But it's just like, please go do it. Please go do it, because
I have people telling me like, I can run a better crowd sponsorship than this. This is bullshit. What you guys are doing. I'm like,
just do it. Do it, because I'd be happy to watch it. If it's that good, I'll watch it as well. Like, honestly.
If you can do a better job, like if you think you can do the better job,
just do it.
Do it. You should
just do it. Yeah. Just fucking do it. I do, like, I just do what I can. And if people don't appreciate it, that's up to them. But, if I get criticism, I don't, if someone's polite and critical, I'm fine with that. The chat knows that, because they criticize me all the time, and I'll respond to them and be like, actually, yes, I agree with that, because I'm not, like I said, I don't see things in black and white, and I think that I can have a point of view, but I can also see points of view, and I can also see, like, if I'm doing something wrong.
If you sincerely fuck up, you're not the kind of guy that'll say like, I apologize, you were all offended. And do
Please let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Hey, you guys, I'm sorry if you were offended.
Listen, I used to work in PR. I know how to do situations. I know exactly how to deal with those situations, and you can't beat the mob. You ain't ever gonna beat the mob. You just go, I am really fucking sorry.
Take your whipping
fucked
and
up,
move on.
And I will do better. And that's it. I will do better going forwards. I'm really sorry.
Right.
And there's no excuse. And that's it, because you will not beat the mob. You won't beat them.
I mean, it's their fault they're offended in the first place. Anyway, we should move on top, because we didn't actually have like YouTube talk in the books, which is fine. We could touch on one thing I might want to bring up. And I don't know if you do or don't have an opinion on this, but esports ecosystem, bitcoins in your fighting games.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay. I know very base level knowledge about Bitcoin, and I guess it's not Bitcoin, right? It's, what do they call their thing? It's not Bitcoin. What does esports ecosystem call their currency?
I don't know. I expect I'll find out about it when I go to Canada Cup, because I think Lapchi is involved, and Gutex and all that stuff. But I don't know. I don't understand Bitcoin and stuff like that.
And that base level of having anybody or any amount of people not have any confidence in a currency effectively renders that currency useless. So if they are doing payouts with their cryptocurrency, then it technically, on a very not technically, but on a practical level, is devalued by people's confidence in it. Regardless, we won't have to talk about it, but I kind of do want to bring it up today because I had to listen to some racist bigot at work try to explain blockchain to someone else, and they were not doing it correctly. But then also they spun off and had to talk about Iran's economy, and I'm like, you are way off, sir. And also that little bit of racism there, not necessary. I work in a nightmare zone, by the way. It's not good. So we don't have to talk about cryptocurrency. I won't have a point of view on it. Like I have 50% of people telling me, "Oh, that's a scam," and I got 50% of people telling me, "No, this is real," and whatever. So I don't know until I'm educated on it. I can't talk on it. Right. And I think that for most people, maybe spin off and learn about cryptocurrency, get some education. I know there's a lot of good YouTube videos. There's a good what the fuck is the name of that show with John Oliver? Last Weekend Tonight. What the fuck is the name of that show? Why am I blanking? Regardless, John Oliver did a good 20-30 minutes on it, and does a good explanation of what it actually is and why cryptocurrencies go up and down in value and why people pull out and tend to make money on it, but it's not the people who have actually invested in it into the economies. Regardless, not going to talk about it, not going to be able to speak from an educated standpoint on it. I'm not going to force you to talk about it, so we don't have to cover anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be that smart and love to know cryptocurrency, and I probably would have loved to have been in on it at the beginning when Bitcoin first started, because it sounds amazing.
It's good for people who had it up front, and then maybe like if they pulled out, and I have no clue. I got friends who are into it, but like I have no idea what they're talking about half the time. I got friends who have like purchased it and made money from it, and then other friends who have, I guess, recently Bitcoin itself went down in value or something. I don't even know. I honestly can't talk about it because I don't know. Yeah. Also, not a passion of mine to talk about that, but also I know, and let's just put it this way: I know more about it than racist bigot coworker, and also
you should get him on. You should get him on the podcast,
dude. Man, work it's kind of nuts. Working 12-hour shifts. By the way, speaking of work, and I only bring this up because it happened too many times today. There were so many just today, this date. September 6th, 2018, our year of our Lord and Savior. There were so many toilet crimes being committed at my workplace. Just straight up toilet crime.
What exactly is a toilet crime?
There's all kinds of toilet crime. There's first degree toilet crime where you can very see that something bad has happened. But then there's also like second degree toilet crime where it's like the amount of people who walk into the bathroom of my workplace on the telephone and then go into a stall and continue to do their bathroom business, that's toilet crime. You'll get charged for that.
Oh God. I don't want to know if somebody, I mean,
multiple phone calls. The number of times I've seen people bring food into the bathroom, that's third degree toilet crime right there.
Yep.
You'll get 25 to life for that.
Sometimes I take a drink in and I feel dirty for doing that, but it would be like at an airport or something where I've just got my baggage and my drink with me, and like that
is understandable because you don't want to leave a drink unattended. You never know.
No, exactly. But it still feels bad. I don't like doing that.
There's different toilet law at an airport because that's like international toilet law. International toilet law is different from U.S. toilet law, and let me tell you, there are some fucking criminals at my work, and they need to go to jail forever.
Doesn't sound like
perpetrated toilet crimes. It
doesn't sound like a fun workplace.
That is the least of my worries. Anyway, that I think we're coming up on time. Thank you for spending this this hour doing the show. That's much appreciated. It was fun doing the
Zach.
stream. Also, people should watch the stream. Do you throw up VODs for your stream?
I might this time. I might put this VOD. I don't know, because this is your thing, right? So I don't know.
For the thing we just recorded of the live practice stuff.
Oh, the live practice? No, that was
stuff.
just a test. I might take a clip from that and just show it as proof of concept and throw it out there, because so for you guys who weren't on earlier, we basically did something. Actually, you know what? I can switch the view just real quick so they can see it, but it won't quite work. But for those of you who weren't on earlier, we tested something which I wanted to test, which is this, right? So we have 2 face cams and we play matches. And I've seen people do this in Call of Duty when they're playing together. And it fascinated me to see like people's reactions, particularly when they were working as a team. And I thought that I haven't really seen people doing it in Street Fighter. And I thought it'd be interesting to do 2 things. One is play against a rival, right? And see people get salty and angry and like see how they react to each other's moves and all that sort of stuff. So I thought that'd be kind of cool. I think people are fascinating,
even in an online environment. Yeah,
I think people are kind of fascinating in that respect. It's kind of like people watching, but you're watching the match as well. So it's like, oh shit, let's see what's going on with this guy's face or what he says or whatever. And then the other thing that I was going to do is a series for me and for you guys, but kind of for me, but also for you guys, where I have people on like Joe, and I'm the student, and the person I have on is the sensei, and we do like a lesson, and that'd be kind of cool as well. I just haven't seen many where they have like a double face cam thing going on.
Right.
Now, the weird thing is, in order to actually make it work for both people, because you're using 2 apps, you actually have to use 2 cameras. So I've ordered another camera, and I don't know, maybe we'll see if this happens and it takes off and other people want to do it. But I know that, because I'm using my face cam for my stream, I know that Joe can't actually see me.
Yeah, I can't
live.
see you.
So that was very nice of you to come on and do that, considering you can't see me.
That's fine.
But
I would also had the Twitch up so I could kind of see it on delay. A little bit of delay, but not a big deal. Not a big deal.
But anyway, I think, this is what I wanted to figure out. Like, I've not been streaming long. I wanted to see if I could make this work. I wanted to see if I could make, what we're doing, the interview work, which I've switched back to now. And so I can do various things now and bring the content that I really want to bring. So the next phase for me is to do all the window dressing, overlays. I've got to find it, the emote we were talking about. I've got to do the badge. I've got to do the alert system. I've got loads of stuff. It's all planned. I just got to make it happen. And then this channel will be in a place where I just will have a schedule, and I will treat it like full time almost. But I've also got to figure out how to keep doing YouTube, because YouTube's important. And I have to decide. I've said this a million times on chat, but I have to figure out monetization to make as much content as possible, but also get paid.
Right.
And then I have to figure out how to scale up. So, part of the reason I joined the UIU stream team was I thought, let me try this out. Let me see if this team will support me in some way. And it turns out I'll explain like in the next few days, like how they
you don't
are.
have to say that on this podcast.
Beginning to support me. But that's my 2 biggest things, is like the reality of I want to carry on doing exactly what I'm doing without being censored. I want to be that voice for people.
Right.
I want to get better and play more games, because I don't play games as much as I used to, and I just want to play games. So if I can stream, I can play games, right?
Yeah.
And then, scaling is the interesting thing. Like, I want to talk to a lot of different people who've done it already, which is like, could I have an editor come on board somehow? And I don't know, like look at I'll give you a good example. Avoiding the puddle, right?
Yeah.
So he has a dude who basically said to him, or something happened. I know he has a whole team now, to be honest. He's huge. But like at one point, somebody said, I'll do a YouTube channel where I take all your best clips and I edit it and I do all this amazing stuff. And the YouTube channel will essentially promote your Twitch channel. And that's how people are going to find you on Twitch through YouTube, because they can watch YouTube whenever they want.
Right.
But if you want me to do that, I'm going to make all the money from the YouTube channel. And that's not a secret relationship. You know, everybody knows that. Right. They know about the guy who does it, right? And so that's a thing that's been going on for a while. And now that YouTube channel, I think, has 200,000 subscribers or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it gets a lot of views.
So that's an interesting way of going about content, right?
I was going to recommend you do something very similar. I think that even with that test vid, there might be a good, like in that moment when we weren't playing, to talk about just the matchup. If you just cut that into like a 5-minute video, throw it up there.
Yeah,
effectively unedited. Ask someone who's watching right now, hey, one of the people watching this, go back and just do a long clip highlight of that bit of that last video. Just go do that. And then you can just export that to YouTube. Done and done.
So
start, stop, and then have it just kind of it'll be rough, but maybe you got to title it differently or throw it up on a secondary channel.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, basically, the other thing is, I mean, there's a traditional element to, you know, traditional YouTube as well, you know, but slightly higher production values, produced videos or whatever.
Right.
I also fucking love doing skits. I just haven't done one in ages. And some of them end up quite cringe and some of them end up quite funny and some of them end up just interesting. But I love doing them, you know, and
the whole process is fun.
Yeah, the process is amazing, and I love editing them. I hate editing everything else, but I love editing skits because I'm sitting there going, "Ha ha ha, this is funny," or laughing to myself and whatever. But there's this point where I guess you have to decide. You have to kind of decide what you're doing, and it sucks because there's so much different type of content I want to do, and I could make content all day, but I also have to do the editing and production and all that shit. And
right.
Let me tell you, we talked about, you know, what the effort it takes to get interviews.
Right.
When that interview is in the bag, and you know this because you edit these, right, which are an hour long. When I have an hour,
edit shit. You best believe.
You don't edit?
These go live to tape. I don't edit shit.
We'll
this
do
is
it
going
live.
up raw.
Fuck it, we'll do it live
everywhere. Yeah, no, and so that's the reason why I do it live, because I literally don't have time to do that. I will go back and edit if, like, maybe you said something, we're like, hey, maybe we should like edit that, even though this is going live to stream, so it's kind of fucking whatever. Yeah. But I record these live to tape. I don't edit any of my podcasts. So if anyone goes through and listens to the past 54, 55 episodes or whatever, that's all raw. That's all raw footage.
Wow. Okay. Well, when I edit, right? So, and I also do timestamps. I also do timestamps, right? But I do timestamps for every question. So if you can imagine this, right? When you're editing something which is an hour long or an hour and a half, some of my interviews are an hour and a half, some are 2 hours, right? Like when I'm editing something that long, it takes an hour and a half just to watch it without pressing a button.
Right.
So like then you're writing timestamps, right? So I'm flicking between like the video and then I'm writing the timestamp and then I'm like putting in, like, at the beginning of my videos I have like an intro and outro and all that sort of stuff, and
yeah, you want to have that good bit to then put it to your cold open. You gotta have your cold open, and then it goes to title card, and then the interview starts. That's just that's the way to
lately I've been putting gameplay because I feel like people enjoy the context, like they wanna have a sense of, like, because some of them just haven't seen the player, and so they want to see who the player plays, how they play, did they win something. So that's the context, and then we'll go into, you know, title card, then we'll go into, you know, whatever, the actual interview. But it is amazing. What I love about it, going back to interviews, I suppose, is it's a win-win for just everybody. You know, it's a win for me because I like doing it, It's a win for the player, because particularly the foreign players, because it's hard to get to know them unless they're talking and being translated. And it's a win for the people watching, because they get to know these players.
Coverage in Japan to the States. I will say Dr. Fugu Tibet High on Twitter.
He's great.
Follow
he's
the fuck
fantastic.
out of that dude, because he's doing so much translation work for like interviews and all the tournaments. He does it well. He does it well because sometimes it's a bit all over the place. Not him, but other stuff that I've seen has been a bit all over the place. And Disco's out there at the moment as well, so he occasionally translates this and that. Disco Vigilante, the Japanese translator I've had in the past. But I think that what amazes me still to this day is I'll put a Takedo interview up and people will go, wow, I always thought he was kind of mean looking, and now I really like him. And I'm He's got a mean boy face.
But to me, it's just I think for me, I'm constantly underestimating how many new people are drifting in and out. And because like if you don't know, or you haven't seen Takedo interviews in the past, or you haven't seen him speak, or you haven't seen him at Evo say fighting games are great or whatever, or for you to see your first interview now is wild. And I do like that aspect of it, of people saying, even with American players, oh, I thought this person was a jerk, but they talk for an hour and I kind of like them. I think they're kind of cool. And now I'm going to support them. They say that. That's literally what they say in the comments. Like, now I'm going to support this person.
I thought Chris G was a bitch, but he has some really interesting opinions on things.
Well, as it goes, Chris is actually really, like, when you talk to him he's regular.
His interviews, he's
I mean, he does some dumb stuff on social media, but basically, like, when you actually talk to him, he's cool. He's very, like, he's cool.
You humanized a person that I had a preexisting opinion on.
That's also what happens, is the humanization of certain people. And it's good. That's a good feeling, right? When that happens, that's a good feeling, because everybody wins. It's like, I win because I did a good interview that you enjoyed, or I participated in a good interview or set one up or whatever. And player wins because they're getting to, show you more of themselves and their opinion and how they are in life and all that stuff. It's not just some random social media written soundbite or whatever and a mean looking face. And the people win because they get to know the players and the personalities. So I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and I think there are other people doing it, which is cool.
Yeah, you're not the only person. There's a lot of other good stuff out there.
I thought the ESPN ones were interesting. That was weird. I thought those were a bit weird, but
all right. So, kind of in conclusion here, because we got to wrap up. Any like closing thoughts on? I guess we've just been talking about interviews the whole time. Interviews, or any closing thoughts on interviews or toilet crime?
Well, we also talked about VIA and Daigo.
Yeah, we could wrap it back around.
And history. So I'd recently gone through Takedo's interview, and I enjoyed doing that. And I did like a director's commentary over the top and side stories and that sort of stuff, and why I asked certain questions and where I fucked up and all that. It's kind of, I enjoy it, and people seem to enjoy it. And one of the things that Takedo said is, as we move into esports, is that, I say move into esports, I mean, sponsors have been around for ages now, so whatever you want to call it, I just hate the word. But like, I think one of the things he said is, as we progress, we shouldn't forget our history, and I like that. I like knowing where fighting games came from, because I think our history is really interesting.
Yeah, there's a rich history there.
Yeah, I mean, compared to most, because it's had its ups and downs, and it's been on different platforms, and it was the original competitive game in the arcades. I mean, it saved the arcades. I remember it saved the arcades for a brief period of time. You know, people wanted to go to the arcades and just get stuck in, and then it hit the home systems, and then you know, everyone was expecting at the time Street Fighter 3 to be this huge leap forward in terms of innovation. It didn't feel like that,
right?
At the time. But I do think it's important to try to remember our history. I do think it's important, if you're getting into fighting games, that's what I would say. If you're getting into fighting games, or just getting into fighting games, check out some of the old stuff.
Right.
Like, it's all over YouTube. Like, there's a rabbit hole you can go down. And I used to love going through that stuff. And that's why I'm so fascinated.
When you say it's all over YouTube, you actually mean it's all over YouTube. There's no one place where you can go or one central location, and you might not even know what rabbit hole you're going down. Like,
well, maybe somebody needs to make a playlist. I don't know, and that would take a lot of work. But it is interesting to just find random ass Evo videos that have been uploaded of, you know, Sagat mirror matches of John Choi or like Daigo playing back in those days versus Sagat. Daigo used to play boxer, right?
Yeah,
and his boxer was godlike. It was the most aggressive character I think I've ever seen.
Tokido used to play Vega Claw.
Who is that?
Tokido.
Well, yeah, and there's also a video. There's a video of Tokido when Tokido used to play a million different games, and they didn't respect him the same way they respect him now. And he was a different type of player, and he would find the cheapest character he possibly could in every single game. There's a video of Tokido playing Street Fighter Super. I forget what it's called. The one where you could pick from any version of Street Fighter 2. It's called Hyper Fighting or something like that. It's kind of confusing because there's another Hyper Fighting, but you could pick from all. Dash. Is that what it's called? But you could pick from all the different versions, and he picks Champion Edition M. Bison. Champion, and that's
fucked up.
Character is fucked up and kind of broken, and like basically that was how Tokido operated. He was like, okay, I'm going to play 10 games, and I'm going to find the character that is game breaking, and I'm going to spam the shit out of this move, and I don't care what you think. Like, your feelings can be hurt. I don't care. And there's this video of these commentators. I don't know who the commentators are, but the voices sound a little bit familiar, but I'm not sure. But they're just like calling him dirty Tokido. They're pissed off. They're angry at this kind of lack of sportsmanship or whatever the fuck it is. They're just pissed. And it's classic FGC stuff. Like, it's, you know, it's just, it's good to go back and see that stuff. Like, there's a lot of amazing videos out there of the FGC.
A lot of good history.
As it was
just
developing.
Like Moment 37. Like, there's good stuff out there.
Yeah, there's even stuff surrounding Moment 37. There's videos that other people took at that tournament where you can see things happening, you know, like behind the scenes. It's amazing what you'll find if you look for it.
Here's my litmus test for people out there. People who think that who have seen Moment 37 and think that Daigo won that Evo, look into the history a little bit more. Dig a little bit deeper.
No, I know, right? I know, because the way he says it, I don't know. Is it Seth Killian who's basically... Well, there's a couple of things which are really interesting about that clip. One is they called it Moment 37, where you're like, well, where's the other 36 moments, right? And they literally made that up to make it sound like there were 36 amazing moments, right? Which is just hilarious. And then also the commentary, I'm not sure if it happened at the time or if it happened afterwards, but basically they knew that clip was gold, right? The other thing is there's a video of Justin Wong trying to rattle the table while Daigo is doing the parries. And Justin admits this, right? So he tried to rattle the fucking table, right? Because they were both on a table. He tried to rattle the table so that Daigo couldn't do the parries. But, like, that didn't work out for him, right? So you have, like, Moment 37 or whatever. But
because anyone only ever knows it from that angle from pulled back and that zoom out at the end to see the whole crowd. It's the whole thing.
There's even like funny moments. So for instance, Expez here in the chat is talking about I Body Him, right? Keto 2015. That clip, I want people to know this, right? I'm not even fucking kidding about this, by the way. That clip you could not find anywhere from the United States. If you were on the internet in the United States, you couldn't find that clip. I think it was partially because a lot of Red Bull stuff tends to get taken down because Red Bull own it. But you could not find it. Even Halls of Hype couldn't find it, right? So, I'm being hosted by Nuggy Bunny. Thank you, Nuggy Bunny.
Okay.
That's amazing.
It was erased from the internet, basically.
So I am not kidding you. You couldn't find it anywhere. So I eventually found it via, I think it was Anna actually at Red Bull in Japan, and she was like, "Here it is," and I couldn't view it. It was like an unviewable. It was like you could only view it in another country.
Right.
So I had somebody do a workaround, download the video, get the video to me, and then I uploaded the video. So I don't know if anybody else has copied that video since, but I uploaded the video, and SRK did a whole article about the fact that I was preserving the history of the FGC. And like that I just loved that moment. That's what it was. And it was just, I couldn't find it. It was like my favorite freaking moment. It was like Takedo said, I body him, and I couldn't find it anywhere because he says it just before winners final instead of grand finals, I think. Yes. And he says, if he picks Sagat, I body him. If he picks Ryu, I body him, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that, funnily enough, is something that I was really proud of because I was like, we need to preserve this history. And for all I know, Red Bull could take it down. They could be like, take it down, whatever. But so far, so good. It's stayed up.
Right.
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I know that I said this like 20 minutes ago, but we do have to wrap up. I gotta stop this video at some point. Stop the recording, cut the tapes.
It's me. I'm sorry. This happens.
No, that's fine because we've been talking about good stuff. Like it's not like
every single podcast. This is why I think I'm going to be a good streamer. I think
you gotta look at the clock. Gotta watch the clock. I'm kind of letting you go because I don't actually have a clock I have to stick to. Because I don't have limits, but I would like to wrap up conversation. I have to clean my house. Anyway.
Oh, so I should sleep as well. I need to start sleeping.
Yeah, that's the thing that humans should do.
I haven't been doing much sleeping.
All right. So I will end on the way that we end every episode where there is a guest on for the first time. I will prompt you with 2 questions. The first question, what is your favorite normal attack in any fighting game?
Normal attack.
Across any game, any character. Doesn't have to be Street Fighter.
Yeah. I just, because I'm taking this question very seriously.
Right.
So I just want to think for a second. My favorite normal attack.
Like, for example, I think I really love Zangief in Street Fighter 4, his standing hard punch, because if he hits you with it, you fucked up. And he can get that juggle combo that's really tight. And it just looks so fucking violent. I love it. The weight that he hits you with just looks so good.
Yeah. Mine is crouching hard kick for Akuma in Street Fighter 4 roundhouse, right? Crouching roundhouse. Because remember, you could reset people with it when they were falling down.
Mm-hmm. Tatsu into sweep, and then you get the hard knockdown into Oki. So
that's like the dopest shit ever. And Takedo used to do it all the time because he was all about this. He was all about the vortex, all about the setups. I think that was probably my most satisfying normal. But I will tell you that I will add that when I was growing up, the Dragon Punch was like the most beautiful thing to me. It set off the biggest endorphins in my head. That's why I've always been a Shoto fan. Like the Dragon Punch back in the day when Dragon Punch, I was like, who invented this? Because like, if I was making a fight, I remember trying to wrap my head around it. I was like, if I was making a fighting game, why would you make a punch that just goes straight up? I just don't get it. I don't understand. Like the whole thing didn't make any sense to me, and yet it was like the most satisfying thing ever.
It defied science, but was a gift to man.
Right. And then when they extended Ken's to go out further, and you could just catch people with it, I was like, holy shit!
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good answer. The second part of the question, what's your favorite combo in any fighting game?
My favorite combo?
Yeah.
one is just suddenly coming to mind, and they don't use it much in Street Fighter 5, but people used to use it more in Street Fighter 4. And again, it's an Akuma combo. But when he does the Tatsu, right? He can then, and I never do this, but I'd like to, just never do it. It just always looks fun. He does the Tatsu, and then you do crouching medium punch, right? So you juggle them, and then you go into demon flip throw. And
the dirty reset.
The dirty reset, right? And like, you can't do it too much. It's just something you do every now and then. But I've always liked that combo, and I can't say necessarily that it's my favorite of all time, but it just sprung to mind as
it's
something
your
that
today. Let's just call it your favorite one today. Like, people's tastes change from day to day. Like,
what's your favorite combo?
And there's a specific reason for this, but Sagat in Street Fighter 4.
Thank you, Rep Catman, for hosting my stream. Sorry, I had for that.
Forward light kick into crouching light punch into hard punch DP. You can go anywhere, but that specific 3-hit combo, like, yeah, you can FADC it and go and do whatever, but specifically that 3 hits, the cadence of it, to me.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, and this is what's so important.
Timing just feels so good. It feels so right.
But that's why Street Fighter often feels right. Like the way
it's music,
the buttons hit, feel right compared to like something like I don't really love the way Injustice hits.
That's my main problem with NRS games, man.
But I love the way Street Fighter hits, right? And the combo that I do a lot, it wasn't working on you too much, to be perfectly honest, but the combo that I love doing a lot is cross up light kick, and then you go down. I forget the order because it's just something I do now, but you go down and you do like crouching light kick, crouching light punch, and then you go into Tatsu, right? And then you go into DP. And so it's like this beautiful, as you say, it's a beautiful cadence to it where your speed is quite quick, and then it slows down, and it's just once you master it, you're like, oh, this is nice. And when it starts landing on people, it's really quite nasty. And the same thing, you can do the same thing with Ryu in Street Fighter 5, but he does the DP at the end of it usually. Right. But it sort of came. I think a lot of people started. I remember Takedo used to use it with Ryu all the time because when you jumped in on people,
that jump light kick was
good. The light kick was a lot harder to anti-air.
It was really
and
good.
The other thing that I like about it is that if I do quite an ambiguous jump as you're getting up, and I don't even know which side I'm going to land, right?
Right.
It hit confirms. So all I'm doing is I'm hitting 2 lights, and then I figure out which side I am, and I do the Tatsu, right? Not only that, you could be crouching or standing when I'm hitting you, right? If you are crouching and I do light kick Tatsu, it will whiff. If you're crouching, I have to use medium kick Tatsu and it will hit. So when I'm hit confirming, I'm also thinking about which Tatsu I'm going to use and which direction the Tatsu is going in. So it's the double think again, right?
It's a little bit
but it's very satisfying as a combo because of the cadence, because of the hits, and also because of the thought process that's happening when you're doing it.
Right. When it goes right, it's just the stars align and it is perfect. It's
dope. And it's dope.
All right. Those are good answers. And I think with that, we can wrap up the show. But before we go, I want to give you another opportunity to tell people where they can find you on the internet.
I would say, so everything, I funnel all my information through Twitter. So the easiest thing to remember is Born Free Tweets at Twitter. And then the other thing, obviously, for the people who will be listening to this in the future, not the guys who are currently here in my chat, but for people in the future, I'm now just started streaming, and the content I'm going to be putting out is live interviews, live podcasts, live gameplay with a double face cam, right? Innovating here, the old double face cam. And we'll be calling that Face Your Rival, right? Or this second name is shit, so I really want the guys who follow me to come up with a better name. But the second one is called See Your Sensei. So I may do lessons where I'm the student, right? Which I think would be fun with different various guests. And then I do this other thing called Chat TLC, where I just fuck around and talk to the chat for like hours on end, which is also fun. I have a nice core group at the moment who get involved in the chat. And and then I'll be playing variety games as well. Coach a noob. Yeah, but it has to have the seeing aspect because we've got two faces, right? But the whole point is that we got the two faces on screen, which I don't think anybody really does. And I think that's really fascinating. I thought it was fascinating when I was watching Call of Duty and people doing it. So I think in fighting games it'd be fascinating. So sorry, let me take them back to the layout.
So that's your channel, though. That's your Born Free Twitch. On Twitch for the people listening.
Oh, it's Born Free Twitch on Twitch. Yeah. So.
All right, and maybe people should hop into your Patreon.
I mean, I'd love people to do that. I'm a very bad Patreon guy. I actually wrote a message to my patrons saying, "Am I bad at Patreon?" And they told me, they're really sweet. They said, "Look, we don't care about all the exclusive shit that you're supposed to get on Patreon. Like, we just care about supporting you."
Right.
So if you do want to support me on Patreon, I will start to link it and have alerts and stuff for Twitch. But if you want to support me on Patreon, it's Mr. Born Free. On Patreon, basically.
Right.
The address is patreon.com/MrBornFree or something like that.
Yeah. And all of those links will be shared in the show notes for anyone listening to find a quick grab of all that. All right. And I think that's a show. Again, you can find me at Super Joe Monday on Twitter or Joe_Monday on Reddit. Or if you want to hit up the official Twitter account of our Street Fighter, it's Reddit SF on Twitter. It's at Reddit SF. And that's a show. It has been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for coming on the show. Awesome. And it was fun doing the training beforehand. Maybe put some of those... clip that and throw it up there. That'd be fun to watch.
I think I'll clip it. You're right. I need to clip it and just put it out there as proof of concept. I want to just be like, look, this is what I'm trying to. One of the things I'm trying to achieve. I'm trying to content. I'm trying to, I want to bring new and interesting.
You want to get it out there, but also you want to get that information out there. Totally understandable. But anyway, folks. Again, you can catch us every Thursday. Don't forget about the West Coast tournament tomorrow and the East Coast tournament every Monday night that we run from our Street Fighter. Thanks again for joining us, folks. The listen is much appreciated. I'm sure I'm supposed to say, hey, if you are watching Born Free's Twitch, be sure to smash that subscribe button. You'll get that ding. I'm sure that'll happen. There's an emote coming, I'm sure. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that follow button. Smash that subscriber button. You know you want it. Anyway,
we're gonna be partner. We're gonna be partner in no time.
In no time.
We're gonna be partner in no time. I swear.
All right, folks. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again next week with another edition of RSF Radio. But until then, take care.
Yay! So that's the end of your recording.